Welcome everyone to Living with the Times. This week's Torah portion is Parshat Bo. In the previous portion, we learn about the first seven plagues, 7 of the 10 plagues. And in this parsha, we will learn about the last 3 plagues and the beginning of the Exodus from Egypt. And the parsha begins that God says to Moshe, "Come to Pharaoh." So everyone asks, why doesn't it say, "Go to Pharaoh"? Why come to Pharaoh? And so, first off, we look at the word Bo. It's 2 letters, Bet, Aleph, and that equals 3. Bet equals 2, Aleph equals 1. 3 indicates the last 3 plagues that will be discussed in this parsha. And according to Kabbalah, the 10 plagues parallel the 10 sfirot, from below to above. The first one was from below, Malchut, and the last one, the killing of the firstborn, is Keter, the highest of the Sfirot. Many times the Sfirot are superimposed on a human body. And so if we look at the Sfirot superimposed on a body, well, Chesed is the right hand, right arm, Gevurah is the left, Tiferet is the heart, Netzach and Hod are the 2 legs. And the upper 3 that are talked about in this parsha will be Keter, Chachma, and Bina. So they're in the head. And so to get from the body to the head, you have to go through the neck, the oref. And the neck, compared to the broad shoulders, is a narrow place. To get from below to above in the sfirot, or the human body, you have to go through the neck. So we're taught in Kabbalah that the letters of the name Pharaoh, when you permute them differently, spell out Oref, the neck. And Egypt itself is named after a narrow place, Meitzar, which is the root of Mitzrayim, means a narrow place. So the Midrash explains that as each plague is played out, it's as if the stakes are getting higher and higher, just like we're climbing up the Sfirot in the parallel of the plagues to the Sfirot. And the last 3 are going to be, in a certain way, the hardest. And so God says to Moshe, Moshe's a bit unsure of himself, how am I going to pull off these last 3 plagues? And God says, come to Pharaoh, meaning I'll come with you to Pharaoh, or you come with me to Pharaoh. And so here we see a development that we can follow all the way back to the burning bush. First, we see Moshe as being strong and sure of himself. He sees an Egyptian beating a Jew, and he saves him. And he actually kills the Egyptian to save the Jew. And then the next day, he tries to break up a fight between 2 Jews. Later, he saves Zipporah, turns out to be his future wife, who is being manhandled by the shepherds. So we see Moshe as being strong and sure of himself. But when he comes to the burning bush, all of a sudden Moshe send someone else. I'm not up to it. I'm not the right person. Someone can do a better job. I can't speak. And then when he finally comes to Pharaoh, the first time, Pharaoh doesn't listen. And Moshe comes out to God and says, why did you send me? I thought I was supposed to save the people. And then later God sends him back and he says, how am I going to talk to Pharaoh? The people won't even listen to me. So we see that there's a pattern of unsurety here. And yet, this is a turning point. When God says, come with me to Pharaoh, or I'll come with you, we see Moshe, we'll call it, stepping into his role. And after this, we see Moshe as the leader. He stands up to the people, he stands up to Pharaoh, and sometimes even stands up to God. So this is all represented by going through the narrowness of the throat to get to the last three of the plagues. But there's a transition as Moshe goes through this narrow place. He seems to get over his unsurety. This is something we can all learn from, because many times we're faced with obstacles in life. We have great dreams, we have tasks and a mission, but many times we come to a place of a bit of lack of faith in ourselves and unsure if we're up to it. So here by following the story of Moshe, we see how he grows in to his position as leader. So one other beautiful thing about this idea of going through this narrow place of the neck, again, Pharaoh, the letters, when you permute them, is the neck. Later, a number of times in the Torah, Israel is described as a stiff-necked people. So here we see Pharaoh is represented by the neck. He's narrow-minded. He's egocentric. And stiff-necked means stubborn. Pharaoh is the epitome of stubbornness. It took 10 plagues for him to realize what was happening and let the people go. So there's one time that when God is quite angry at the Jewish people because of our backsliding, and Moshe, in defending the people, says you should have compassion on the people because they're a stiff-necked people. So the simple reading is like, have Rahmanas, have compassion on your children. They're stubborn. What can you do? But there's another way to read it, and that is have compassion on them because they are a stiff-necked people. So Moshe was saying to God, what other people would go through what they have gone through and will go through all history in their belief in you, in their belief in the Torah, in their belief in their mission in the world, in their attachment to the land of Israel. They are a stiff-necked people, but that is an advantage that you should recognize and realize, that they are going to stick with the covenant through thick and thin. And here again in Israel, we are being put to the test. October 7th was a traumatic experience. We are still shaking from it and probably will be for some time to come. But despite what maybe the world thought, the people of Israel are very stiff-necked, and we're taking the battle cry of never again, and despite the whole world crying ceasefire now, which only means leave Hamas in charge. You don't have to worry because it will end the war. But we do have to worry because everyone knows that they have publicly said they'll do it again and again and again. So right now we are being stiff-necked, and with a lot of faith, we need to see this through the end. We need to end the rule of Hamas once and for all and send a message to the whole world that the scourge of terrorism, it's had its day. That we reached our red line here. And so with God's help, we will do the positive energy of being stiff-necked, and we'll see this through the end. And God willing, all those who love Israel will stick with us, and we will see this not to the end, but it will be an end that will bring a new beginning for the people of Israel and for the whole world.